Hello you geeks, welcome back for more epic knowledge, and what better to learn than something that few people ever do. Now I'm not saying that you don't know any of these already, I'm merely saying that it is unlikely unless you specialize in a particular area. So, shall we begin? Number 5. Aerogel. We're starting the list off with a strange one here, and that's aerogel. What's so special about this stuff, you might ask? Otherwise known as frozen smoke. This substance was created for NASA's aerospace programs, hence the name. The reason is because of its unique properties. This incredibly light material is mostly composed of oxygen, as well as silica and liquid carbon dioxide. It can withstand temperatures of up to 650 degrees Celsius, and it is so strong that it can even stop a bullet. NASA has plans to use this substance in order to catch cosmic dust and debris for further study. Number 4. Cold welding. Grabbing two pieces of metal and permanently joining them together is a process that dates all the way back to the Iron Age, in which they used pressure to weld the metals. This method of welding often took a long time and was highly impractical. If you were given the choice between the two methods, molten welding through intense heat would definitely seem like the way to go. However, the same comparison could be made when comparing heat welding and cold welding. Imagine if you had two steel plates of roughly the same purity. You then proceed to touch the edges of these plates against each other. This would create a chemical bond which fixes the two together, without the use of gas or the risk of welder's flash. This is rapidly becoming more and more realistic as NASA further improves their techniques for recreating these circumstances on Earth. Cold welding is already being applied to everyday uses, such as wiring and the manufacturing of automobiles. On top of that, it is widely used in aerospace manufacturing as well. Number 3. Starlight. Unlike other items on this list, Starlight doesn't actually exist. Or rather, it doesn't exist anymore. Allow me to explain. Starlight was created in the 1970s and the 1980s by the then rookie chemist Maurice Ward. Starlight is said to be able to withstand temperatures even greater than aerogel as it has amazing thermal conductivity, and like aerogel is incredibly light. There is but one problem. Maurice Ward had never shared his formula with anyone, nor had he written it down, which means that the formula could be found nowhere but the mind of its creator, who sadly passed away in 2011 without ever revealing his secret. Some speculate that he worried about Starlight being used in military applications. There have been attempts to recreate it, one of the most recent being in 2018 by a YouTuber called Nighthawk and Light, who explains about the material in more detail. I will put a link to the video in the description below. Nighthawk and Light then proceeds to explain his process of how he makes it. While the material he creates certainly seems fitting and performs well, no one can say for sure that this is the same recipe. Number 2. Helium-3. If you haven't heard about this stuff before, then you might be a little confused. Yes, there are different types of helium, or rather different isotopes. You have the gaseous form that everybody knows and loves, and the liquid form, also known as superfluid helium. But what about helium-3? Helium-3 is our best candidate for a clean and powerful energy source that we can obtain within the next 5 years. Our current best method relies on nuclear fission, which is a process of splitting atomic nuclei. This method produces a lot of waste and is highly radioactive. With nuclear fusion, however, we can use extreme heat to collide particles together, fusing them into a heavier element, while at the same time producing just as much energy as we do with nuclear power plants. We can already do this. It is a result of collisions performed by supercolliders all around the world. Although helium-3 will make this process even better. If we can force helium-3 to undergo nuclear fusion, it will create a new state known as helium-4. During this reaction, a proton gets split off from a group in order to make a stable isotope. This produces far more energy than just a normal fusion would. And here is the best part. Helium-3 is highly abundant on the moon's surface. The lunar dust, to be precise, contains large amounts of this, and could make setting up a colony on the moon essential for future space travel. Number 1. The process of creating a bit. How many people out there know what a computer bit is? If you raise your hand, then please lower it again. I don't want anyone's arms to get tired. A computer bit is a unit of information contained by a set of 1, 0, or both 1 and 0. If we look at the very core of computer engineering, it comes down to the very structure of how the microchips are wired. Imagine you have a complete circuit which will power a light bulb. Connected to this circuit are two separate switches which require for both of them to be closed in order to complete this circuit and to turn on the light. You might be asking how this relates to creating a bit, and here's a brief answer. When switches are open, we can give them a number. Let's say 0, and when the switches are closed, we will assign this with the number 1. This layout I've just shown you is known as an AND gate, which means that the switches 1 and 2 must both be closed in order for the circuit to work. If just switch 1 was closed and switch 2 was not, then it wouldn't work. You might know these little switches as transistors. A transistor is a microswitch that either turns on or off when given a small electrical impulse. It's these very transistors that create the binary system which powers everything from calculators to the International Space Station. So if you had 4 transistors, the center 2 being turned off and the end ones being turned on, then the end result would be 1001. And the most amazing part about all of this is that these transistors are only about 22 nanometers in length, and your standard Intel Core i7 processor contains about 3 billion of them. Each one has their own function in the CPU in order to perform different tasks, being turned on or off to create a plethora of possibilities.